And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's Gerald Glassford. It's a snack pack, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Of course, I run several shows, including the Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, as well, of course, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Go ahead and check out what the guys are doing today when we talked about what's the playoff schedule that's out there. Plus, how did we do in our fantasy football seasons? Go ahead and check out the latest episode of Inside Sports Fantasy Football, indeed. Plus, also, of course, don't forget Joe Soro is here. You go ahead and check out what he's doing. His company, Simblades with a Y.com. If you want a new lawn transformed into something much more magical than it was, go ahead and check it out. Simblades with a Y.com. He is also Oxide 247 if you want to say, hey, Adam, at LakersBall.com. And then, of course, also as well, the game is he is putting money into. He's an investor. He is a not so secret investor of the indie fighting game of the year. And that is, of course, Corrupt, COREUPT on Steam. Also, as well, of course, our good friends at the Lakerholics crew at Lakerholics.com. I know Jamie's sweet. I was going to put his latest 5 things on our members, for our members today, but since it consisted of UGG, 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 and more UGG, basically is 5 sentences long, UGG, 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 UGG. I thought maybe I would go ahead and spare you from that. But yeah, go ahead and check out what they usually have to say at Lakerholics.com. Our good friends, Empire Jeff TV, covering the Lakers and Dodgers, Lakers in 5, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, also as well, of course, John McCalian channel, of course, also as well, our good friend Stone Hansen, who is doing a lot of good work on the NBA draft. So go ahead and check out his Twitter. Alfred Esmond on Twitter, and of course, also as well, the Legend 350. Subscribe and like to his stuff, and don't forget to subscribe and like today. We're at 2030 on subscribers. So go ahead, subscribe today. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that social media stuff. Blue Sky. Can't do it on TikTok. Even if they ban TikTok, we got banned first before TikTok. Thanks, Joe. Go ahead and check us out today and follow us and like and subscribe and do all that good stuff. And then also, if you want to go ahead and become a member, you can check out the first brand new article from Mark, aka Xbox. He just dropped it on Ben Simmons and the Australian basketball scene. He's got a keen perception of what's going on down there. So go ahead and check out his first article today. First eyes for it are for members, $2.99 a month, indeed. I'll tell you what, the Lakers have been disappointing. What a way to start off. A week off. Really needed it. Like, I don't want to go too much like I did like last night. Really needed it last night. The community did. And just didn't get it done. They fell asleep, ran out of gas, whatever you want to say. They looked awful in that second half. And it reminded me of something that JJ Redick said about a week ago. The guys were just playing tired, that they were running out of gas. Are the Lakers running out of gas? Are the Lakers just emotionally drained, maybe from the fires, but physically tired overall from the course of the season? LeBron is pushing 40. Well, he is 40. He's pushing father time right now. But the thing is, after his performance last night, I guess a lot of people are pointing the fingers at him. He didn't get it done. He didn't show up on the defensive end. 7 turnovers. It's a shame because he was shooting well too, but decided to only take 11 shots. I don't know what's going on. And I think a lot of people are also kind of trying to figure out what's going on as well. So here today to go ahead and talk about what's going on with the Lakers. Good man indeed. It is, of course, Joe Soro, Nick T. He is sick of the Lakers. Would you be sick though? Well, would you be sick, Nick T, if they got Kelly Olynyk? Would you be well once again?
I have to repeat
I
what Nick said. I'm sick of the Lakers. There's not a single thing on this team that's admirable. Not LeBron James, not Anthony Davis, not Jeannie Buss, not Rob Pelinka. I don't know who works in and around that area. Kurt Rambis, I don't know what the hell he does, or his wife, and why they're still there. Role players, okay. But other than that, yeah, there's nothing endearing with this team. There's nothing to admire. They just exist. A lot of people on Earth, a lot of people that you probably see on a day-to-day basis, just exist. They're just there. They go to work, they pay their taxes, they pay their rent or mortgage, they loft around with whether they're married or not, or with kids or not, divorced or not, whatever it is, and they're just there breathing air and really not doing shit. That's pretty much what the Lakers are doing. The only differences between the Lakers and anyone else is they make millions of dollars and they're just as pathetic in my eyes. That's it. And it's not something that should be scaled back. There shouldn't be any, people should be relentless. The media should be relentless. The fan base should be relentless to the point where either these guys break off or they improve. Because we are wasting our time watching it. If I'm gonna have to be a hypocrite in this, which you know how I feel about hypocrites, but I don't know necessarily that's the right word to use. I am doing a show and I need to have the information to do the show. I believe that you should stay the course until it's again either fixed or you break them. Now a lot of people have that kind of energy. Most people quit because most people are quitters. They don't have the energy. They don't have the balls. They don't have any intestinal fortitude, or as The Rock used to say in Mankind, testicular fortitude, which, by the way, was probably one of the greatest lines I've ever heard. I'm upset that I didn't think of that one because it flows so well. And this is the future and the present. Is there going to be a trade that might change your minds in 23 days or less? No. Are they going to go get some surprise pick in, I don't know, Zion Williamson? How's that going to turn out? This is a team that's run by a bunch of morons who are going to be telling Zion Williamson to be more dedicated and to work hard. These assholes aren't even working hard, and they're in shape. So good luck with that. But it would make it a nice circus type atmosphere. Everybody would be following the story, and all the people that haven't commented on Zion's weight, other than the people out in New Orleans and maybe the media on the big networks. Now, once the Lakers have that issue, there's going to be a lot more attention to it. Maybe that might get Zion into gear. It might be too late this year, anyways. It doesn't matter. It's not like he's going to drop 30 pounds a month. I guess he could, but that's not a healthy way to start in the middle of the season to help your team win. So yeah, it's as far as running on empty. I don't know necessarily if that's the correct comparison. They're more running on. They're a vehicle that is broken, that's breaking down, and they're not taking it, and they haven't taken it to their 5,000 miles. They're not up to date on their brakes being done. They're waiting for the tires to go bald. Every neglect type situation is what's going on with this team, and I don't see it changing in any way. I don't care if they go on a 4 or 5 game winning streak. In the end of the day, this team might make it into the play-in. And if they do, they will be first round fodder for whatever team they play. And then we'll be sitting back listening to a bunch of chumps talk about how and what could have been, and rest assured, you will hear the excuse of the fire on why they sucked ass during the year.
Absolutely. Before we continue, Joe, I wanted to go ahead and give a big shout out. Wow. M24, totally unexpected. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Truly helps out the channel. Mission 24 with the super chat. Empty is out. Admittedly, feels good to be in a position to support the family, LFB included. Thank you for again from the bottom of our hearts, Mission 24. Your kindness is truly appreciated from all of us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. It does help keep the channel, and it help keeps the lights on. I don't know. That's just such an old phrase, but okay. It does help the channel stay afloat. And thank you again. And your contributions out there do, and this one is absolutely a big one indeed. But Joe, you're right. I mean, there's a reason why you, John, Stone, me, Sean, Mark, even Laker Tom, the omnipotent Laker Tom, the always positive Laker Tom, he picked the Lakers for a sixth place. I guess finish. You know, even him. Rest of us picked them 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th in the standings. So this doesn't surprise us in the least, where they're middling in this general pack, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. They're in this little gaggle group where they were last year and then where they were the year before. So this doesn't surprise us, Joe. Why is it so surprising to everyone else?
I'll roll with those who are naturally positive. The personalities are naturally hopeful. I can't diss on those people because I don't want to do that. I don't want anyone to be like me.
Thank goodness.
At least if because I can handle it. Not a lot of people can handle negativity and dread. I can. It's also not that important. It's a basketball game, but looking at it from a sports factor standpoint, it's just not. You can't always be in that zone if you're a person who's naturally nice and wanting to wanting to enjoy something. Then you have the delusional side of things, and I don't have any ill will towards them, but you're going to have to come with some information if you're going to be delusional. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, although we are saying this over and over again, and it's still not getting through. The Lakers did not value winning, and it was apparent that they did not value winning way before the season even started, way before even free agency started. And they continued to do nothing. Oh, and then they went and traded the largest expiring contract. Not that I was against it, because I felt maybe we needed to get rid of this just head case of a player. It's kind of run its
course. The addition by subtraction thing.
Yeah, it was tiring watching D'Angelo Russell continue to miss open shots and just suck the life out of this team, especially when they were playing quote unquote well. But then what ended up happening is they really did not get better. They got worse. And not only did they get worse, they also lost any chance at being able to get a highly paid possible third or maybe fourth player that could go with LeBron and AD. And then we have to also throw this at LeBron and AD. LeBron and AD are not leaders. They're just not leaders. They don't demand excellence. LeBron demands excellence to himself because LeBron is the most self-centered superstar that we've ever seen. And when I say superstar, it's a different definition than what you all think. There's only a few true superstars in sports: LeBron, Kobe, Shaq, Magic. If you want to go to football, the Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes. Superstars, guys that are the face and are transcendent to their sport, not someone like Anthony Edwards. I don't really look at him as a superstar. I look at him as a extremely, really gifted and really, really good player. I don't look at him as a great player. Jokic is a great player as well. Do I look at Joel Embiid as being a great player? Sure, but he's too much of a shithead for me to call him a superstar, because it's just he doesn't do it on a night to night basis and impose his will unless it's circumstances that go with him, and that never really works in terms of sports to me, in terms of superstar. Now, as far as LeBron bucked the trend a little bit because he has probably he's probably as talented as an athlete as we've ever seen in any sport. But the man is so self-centered, and he's been that way since God knows when. That it's just and he's been enabled, and the fact that he's not really gotten in trouble, he's never had to atone to anything with that because he was able to stay away from the public issues that most stars run into. Michael Jordan ran into this gambling situation. Kobe, obviously, in Colorado. Shaq never really had any outside issues. And I used to think Shaq was the most self-centered guy for the longest time, but I think LeBron pretty much does him without even. LeBron makes Shaq look like Tim Duncan to me. And what happens is when someone is so self-centered and so into what they're doing, these are the results in the end when things don't work out. And I'm not the only one saying it, folks. We have Hall of Fame Charles Barkley saying it. They were discussing it on Inside the NBA with Shaq, with Kenny, with Ernie. Those guys were talking about this. At what point are you going to continue to blame the Darvin Hams and the D'Angelo Russells and anyone else that doesn't work out, and not blame the king, which is complete fodder to me? I've never considered him a king. There's only one king that I've seen, and that was Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. King shows up. King is always there. A king demands excellence. Now, maybe I'm being ignorant here. There's been plenty of piece of shit kings. I'm sorry. Yeah, piece of shit kings at the same time. But my definition of a true king is someone who inspires, someone who takes care of his people, and someone who is the best. And they're the best continuously because they demand to be the best. And that's where it is. That's where it is. And statistics seem to enamor people for whatever reason. I can't understand this for the life of me. This might be the most confusing part of this. Why is it that people who like a certain player are so defensive when someone criticizes them and then uses statistics to back up their claim? What are those statistics going to do when you're 20-17 and now outside the top 6, and you're 2 losses away from possibly being out of the play-in? Oh, and your scoring differential is still in the negative. Answer me that. There's a lot of detail here. There's a lot of detail.
And it's gotten worse, Joe.
And
it was actually down to what?
Yes.
Yeah, it was at 1.5, -1.5. Yeah, it's back up to almost 3, -3 points. It's the only one there. You have to go down to the Phoenix Suns at 11 before it goes to another team with a negative number, Joe.
It's just it sucks to come on here on a nice evening. It's just, this is it, folks. This is probably the beginning of the end here on the 2025 season. I'm sorry to say that. I really wanted to eat the black olives, even though I didn't want to eat the black olives, because if I was eating the black olives, I would have had to deal with the pain of just having that stuff in my presence, let alone eating it. But what it would have meant is I was completely wrong about the Lakers, and they'd be winning. And while they did win a little bit, folks, 10-4 doesn't mean anything in an 82-game season. Our standards are starting to get lower and lower, and that needs to stop too. These losses that they had to Orlando, these losses that they had to Atlanta, these blowout losses against all Texas teams, these are not normal losses. These are deficient mental losses combined with the inability to inspire and to lead and to continue to do something that's not worked for a very long time.
Let me hit you up with this, Joe. Mission 24. And again, thank you so much. It's just truly overwhelming for your kindness and generosity. He said Austin is getting hammered in the media. Maybe it's just a slump, or should he revisit the G League? I've got faith in the dude. This goes back and forth like a roller coaster, Joe. What last week he walked on water when he remember when he got, was it last week or just the weekend, when he got 26 and 10, when he was averaging close to 20 points and 10 assists a game. He was looking really good as far as from a facilitating standpoint, although there were still some flaws. We saw that, and I said it out loud several times, that I think a lot was been put on his plate, and I don't think he's a natural point guard. But he was proving to be somewhat efficient as far as ball handling and being able to set up the offense for a period of time. But there were some games when you get an athletic team on him, like, for instance, Detroit, like, for instance, Houston, like, for instance, San Antonio last night, when you get young athletic players on him that really know how to defend him well and cause him a lot of problems on the offensive end. And on the defensive end, there's so much on his plate now. He was I guess you could say, at his peak last year in the playoffs. It's probably when he gave his best defensive performance in the NBA against Murray. You could say he's been a below average defender, is probably saying it kindly, but it's gone off the deep end once again, like we've talked about before. We dedicated shows on how bad his defense has been over the course of his period of time, especially coming out of FIBA over a season ago. And it's really gotten bad again. Harrison Barnes, not only, he started with Max Christie and he just wasted him in one play. He went back and forth as far as posting up Reaves time and time again, and it isn't looking good right now. So this roller coaster ride, before we get to JJ Redick, before we get into all that other stuff, Austin Reaves is now on the hit list again for Lakers fans. With us, it just seems like we're even keeled. He is who he is. He's an undrafted player. He only has so much talent. He's pretty much maxed it out, but has weaknesses in his game that with the right team gets exploited, Joe.
So what most Laker fans seem to fail at, and this is the problem when you don't focus on how the game is being played. Most of the time when we're on the show, we try to explain the intricacies of the game. Now, I don't go too much into the detail of the intricacy of the game because that's not really why people listen to the show. When you start getting too technical, the show tends to kind of get lost, and no one cares about certain pick and rolls and how they're setting up a flex type offense or whatever.
Lakers film room is the best.
Yeah, Lakers film. No, yeah, I don't. It's almost
if you want to get into the ultra nerdy basketball stuff,
we could,
go,
we could show. See, here's the other problem: is we could show footage of the triangle being implemented and how that all works. I just don't think anybody's going to want to watch that. Or just what more do you need to know about the NBA today? Anyways, most of the sets don't really. There's not really sets really like they used to be. Pick and roll was the Utah Jazz, the Chicago Bulls with the triangle. Most teams would set up at the block and throw it down to the center. The center, if they were a good passing center, they would, stand there for a minute, look around, and then try to distribute the ball to the open man. And then whoever's slashing, cutting, or diving, whatever. A little easier to explain the game then. Now, what is it? What are they doing? Running around until somebody's open at the three, and then they give them the ball. I mean, that's pretty much what every team does. It is kind of controlled chaos, but I'd like to think of those who are watching every day should know a little bit. Like, do you know the difference between a slider and a fastball? Most people don't. They don't know that when that ball's going straight and goes to the left, that's a slider. If it's going straight, it's usually a fastball, right? And then if you see it drop down, it's a curveball. Basketball is actually not that complicated, especially compared to baseball. And I say complicated as in baseball is a continuous guessing game. That's probably why I love baseball so much. It's just who's going to guess? You got a guy at the plate that says, all right, this mother, you know what, he's going to throw me a slider. I'm going to get ahead of it. And then that's what those guys do. They're amazing athletes. Hand-eye coordination off the charts, without a doubt. But as far as basketball is concerned, if you are going to, I'd like to do a poll on how many of those guys skewering. It's always been a tough word to say. Austin Reaves. I want to know how many of those people are LeBron fans.
Now you got me thinking of like a nice shish kebab on a skewer.
Yeah, those are good, by the way, especially with some nice bell pepper in there and onions.
Onions, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Big chunks of steak, right?
Very healthy for you too. Very good. I would like to see how many of those people who are blaming Austin Reaves, because they've shifted now from D'Angelo Russell to now Austin Reaves. And Austin Reaves is playing out of position. Austin Reaves can do ball handling duties, but not for an entire game and not for 3/4 of the game.
He is, as what we say, a secondary playmaker. He does well. If you're asking him to do the day-to-day point, 70% of possessions, him leading the offense, I think that's where we're getting a little bit of trouble here, there, Joe. It's just so much on his plate. I just don't think he has the talent to do so. Because remember, we're dealing with a guy that wasn't drafted into the NBA. So people already knew he has his limitations. And credit to him, he has maxed out whatever talent that got him into the league. And you and I have said this before, and I'll say it again at nauseum. I said that he is a 6th or 7th man on a really, really good team. But when you ask him to do things that are beyond what he's capable of, you run into problems like these. You run into good spells like we did, and you're going to run into some bad ones too, depending on who he's matched up against, Joe.
Yeah, I think the most surprising thing for me the last few years is the little things that I actually am surprised at Anthony Davis and how he hasn't been able to handle it. This is a guy that has won at every level. I don't know if he won in high school. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But he's won in college. He's won in the NBA. He's won in all the international tournaments. Heck, he even won that worthless in-season tournament. He's a winner. And we saw him hit a game winner in a freaking Western Conference final game. Pretty much probably took the Lakers over too. A Game 2 game where it could have tied up the series. Instead, he ends up hitting a 3 to go up 2-0. That is a devastating shot to the opponent, because it's very likely you're not going to win 4 out of 5 against a team that was favored. And that was exactly what happened. I can't figure out why he's turned into this daisy. Can't hit a free throw at the end of games, making bad decisions at the end of games. And then you have LeBron James, who has never really been that guy that's held anybody accountable. He's the passive aggressiveness doesn't usually equate to that kind of personality, which is why a lot of us who are used to male dominance and alpha male type situation, that we're used to, the guys that are going to put their fist down and go, get your butt in gear. I'm the leader of this team. It's very hard to go from that for most of your sports viewing life. And then you get to this, where there's this nonchalant type, whatever. So I was talking about this with someone else recently, and they said, well, what about Tim Duncan? He's not one of those guys that's all demonstrative. I said, yeah, but Popovich was the guy that did that. And the reason why Popovich was able to do that was because of Tim Duncan. So there's different ways to do that. All in all, it's the same kind of leadership in the end, because while Tim is not going to be yelling and screaming, although I've heard stories where Tim has been kind of a jerk to players in a leadership way, not a jerk. But he's more like if somebody comes up to him and says something dumb, he's like, "What are you, dumb?" Like that kind of stuff. He being the fundamental guy, he is leading by example, and Popovich was the bullhorn there instead of the Michaels, the Kobe's, and those types.
But let me ask you this, Joe. Again, when it comes to what we see out there on the court, I understand he needs to step it up. And it's so funny. If I'd have told you to come to you, I said, "Hey, Joe, the Lakers starting center got 30 points, 13 rebounds, 8 offensive, 2 block shots, 2 steals, 2 assists." You would probably think that would be enough to get it done. But yeah, it just seems like when he does that, we've talked about stat padding with LeBron. We've talked about empty numbers, things of that nature. It just seems like last night AD's numbers, they weren't putting an impact. They weren't giving the team, I don't know, enough of what they needed, Joe.
Well, because you're still in that statistical fog in the NBA when you need to stop thinking about 30, 10, and 8s like they were back in 1988. Statistics
Mhm.
have become less stats from the big five: points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks have become a secondary identifier of a game. It's not what it used to be. There was a time when you got the rare triple double, your team won.
Yeah.
But that's not the case anymore. Statistics
No.
aren't dictating results in games anymore. What is it that dictates it in the end? What is maybe a visual of what you see?
Well, with Jokic, I know the stat was brought up with Westbrook that both he and Westbrook, they have what, about a 70% winning percentage when they get their triple doubles. And as we see with Denver right now, they're having a huge surge. And Nick, I will be getting your super chat here in a second. I didn't forget it at all. They are making a surge. They are starting to play better. So it's on the Lakers. You had all this opportunity to go ahead and pass the Nuggets when they were struggling, Joe. Now the Nuggets look like they're the second best team in the Western Conference. I would definitely put them ahead and probably the only team right now that I think could give OKC a chance and a shot in the Western Conference. They had their opportunity while Denver sorted everything out. It was struggling. Now they have sorted everything out and they look like a team that's on the rise once again. And before we get to Nick T's thoughts on the super chat, I wanted to hear your thoughts now with Denver rising in the West.
Uh, it's not a surprise.
No, not at all.
You still have Jamal Murray and you still have Jokic. If Russell Westbrook doesn't shoot up ill-advised shots at the worst time, there might be a spot there for him in the end. I still have to wait to see that. However, I do see a lot of credibility in the fact that Jokic asked to have Russell Westbrook there. That says a lot. That says a lot. Why would someone like Jokic, who has a personality in complete opposite of someone like Russell Westbrook, what did he see? Becomes very interesting. What did he see that he knew would work?
Um, and even when he has a bad game like today, uh, Jokic, Jokic got a triple double, but only scored 10 points. You think you've got Denver beat?
Well,
Uh-uh.
it's easy when
They ran away.
it's easy when your second guy drops 45. I know that helps.
Yeah,
Plus,
and Murray has looked bad all season, and all of a sudden drops 45 on them. Man, it's
right.
again they're
And
starting to look really good as a team.
Murray, maybe there was an injury that wasn't discussed. Who knows? But I've picked Denver to get to the finals. I'm going to stick to it. And the reason why I've stuck to it is because of Jamal Murray being a problem in important times of the game, important times in stretches. And then, of course, you have Jokic, who is starting to make his official stamp in the 20s as the best player in the NBA. He wins one more MVP. And even though we're halfway through the decade, I think he's going to stand as the best player of the 20s. I do believe they'll win at least one more championship, should there not be any major injuries. I believe
I'm already at that point, Joe, where I think he's the best player of the decade.
Anything can happen because Wembanyama could win an MVP next year and then maybe win 3 in a row for all we know. Again, you're probably right. It's probably already there.
But Jokic will still be there at a very high level throughout the rest of this decade, I believe, as well.
Yeah,
so
and
his game is going to mature and grow old. His game is really good for his mid-30s, I think.
Yeah, and if he wins another title, it's pretty much another MVP and a title, let's say this year. At that point, I don't even know if there's really going to be an argument anymore. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that this particular player is focused, is executes, he leads, even though it's not as demonstrative as players of the past. But the difference again is the one that we have is not necessarily inspiring either. See, Jokic inspires. If you look at AD's career, he's never really inspired anybody. LeBron, I maybe in 2016, he inspired a team to defeat the best regular season team of all time. I'd say that was probably LeBron's peak, although 2020 was pretty damn good too. But see, here's the thing: is everything has to go right most of the time for those things to happen. It can't be.
Lloyd disagrees with you, however, on Detroit. He says they're a scam. He said
Detroit Pistons?
No, he said Denver are fraud, and the reason why they won a championship is because of Darvin's scam and the Los Angeles Lakers.
I disagree. Denver was a better team that year, and the Lakers had a chance to beat them because they still had LeBron and AD. But for the reasons why I'm telling you, with LeBron and AD, they couldn't go to that other. I'm gonna break this down.
Mhm.
Good teams sometimes have to beat the teams that should beat you. If we look at the past, in terms of champions, what teams won series that maybe they should have lost, but because they were able to dig in somewhere else and make it work. Again, it happens on like against the Lakers too. You look at the Pistons in 2004. You look at the 2008 Celtics, even though they were the best regular season team that year. The Celtics in 2008 went 7 games against the freaking Atlanta Hawks in the first round. They went 7 games against that Cleveland team in 2008 with LeBron pretty much this close to beating them, but they got blown out in Game 7, which, that's how things go. Then they beat the Pistons. They were the favorite that year. Actually, they weren't favorite in that series, but they were scary enough to where they could have beaten the Celtics. And then, of course, the Lakers ended up coming into the finals favorite, and they got beat. Sometimes a great team needs to beat a team that they're probably not favored to beat. But the Lakers we're not really ever able to do that with this Laker AD LeBron team. They lost when they were supposed to lose, and then beating a sort of good Golden State team and a kind of distracted Memphis team or a young Memphis team. It was a fun series. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they didn't earn it, but in the end, when you have LeBron and AD on the team, you're supposed to win it all. And that's just kind of how that's part of the game. Is just the great players get the glory when they win, and then they lose, they get the blame. That's why they're the stars. That's a good one too, Tough. So the Lakers lose to Ralph Sampson and Olajuwon in '86 in the Western Conference Finals. And not only did they lose, they got their ass whooped. They lose in 5. They lose to a last-second Ralph Sampson turnaround 1 second, just tip it.
Yeah.
Uh, however, and again, I was a little young to pay attention to this. So this is more research and watching those games after the fact. I think the Lakers might have lost to the Celtics in '86 in the finals. I think had they won. So I would have rather have lost.
If you're going to beat the Twin Towers, Joe, I think that's going to tell you all you need to know about how good the Celtics were that season.
Right. However, those guys still took the best Celtic team, according to the Celtics fandom, the best Celtic team ever. That Rocket team still took them to 6. And whether the Lakers would have been able to win a couple more instead of the Rockets, we'll never know. But it's just tough. It's tough because even as I say reasons, as I say, and I pull out excuses or scenarios, I still don't really necessarily click to it. In the end, all this stuff is just regurgitation of nonsense, and it's a waste of our time. This team needed to restart last year. They needed to restart. They needed to tell LeBron, you know what? We got to go a different direction. We need to start rebuilding now. We appreciate what you've done for us. Go somewhere else. LeBron would have went somewhere else to play with his son. For sure. Somebody would have picked him up. The only thing is he wouldn't have got his $50 million. Maybe he would have somewhere that had the money. I don't know, but I don't think so.
I think he would have.
You think somebody with cap space would have paid him $50 million?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So let's say he does George. That. Okay. So what? He would have went to Philadelphia?
Or a team with cap space that large. They would have. He would have found himself somewhere that would have gotten that kind of money. If somebody's going to pay Paul George at $35-50 million. All
right. Let's say a team paid him a 1-year deal, 2nd year team option, whatever, for $50 million. Now he's gone. His son is with him because they'll draft him to kiss his ass, whatever. Either way, you now are going into the offseason. Even if you don't sign a high-profile player, maybe you can get 2 or 3 guys that can help you start this next phase.
But see, before we get into that, I want to go ahead and touch on LeBron one thing, because the thing is, with that, Joe, there's a lot of our fan base that don't want to go down that road, and they don't have enough faith in Rob Pelinka, and like we don't, to do a successful rebuild, which is another problem as well. But even though it's the best and smartest path, it is still very concerning with who would be guiding the ship on that path as well. But Nick T in the super chat, just one last thing on LeBron. He says he's a big LeBron fan. What Joe said is 100% correct. LeBron only shows leaderships when things are going well, but when they're not, he's like, was it Spirit Airlines that want to get away? I don't think it was Spirit Airlines. Southwest, yeah, that's what I thought. So Southwest want to get away, but thank you so much for the super chat. Truly appreciate it. But I mentioned in the chat, and we'll get back to the rebuilding here in a second, Joe. But I mentioned the chat that the 7 turnovers, the non-defensive presence that he had last night, the fact he couldn't even hold down Chris Paul last night, the fellow 40-year-old that he is, was absolutely abysmal. The worst thing about it, Joe, is in the 4th quarter, he had a chance with the subs, for both teams out there, to really stake a claim on the lead and actually just step on the throat, figuratively, of course, of the Spurs. And he didn't do it. Didn't show enough energy at all, which was concerning because he was shooting well. He shot virtually 70% from the field yesterday and 2 of 3 from 3. I don't get it. And he only took 11 shots. I don't get it. But it goes back to what you're saying about leadership, and when things aren't going well, he had a chance and the opportunity to step up to the plate and didn't get it done.
I don't give a shit anymore about why or what. I already know who he is. The irony in that a lot of Laker fans wouldn't want that to happen is hilarious, because if we had a competent GM and an owner, it would have been done. So you guys have, in a irony situation, you've basically succumbed to the ineptness of this front office. You want LeBron to stay, but because he's staying, it's because you have an idiot and a moron running the business. You have these schmucks who are yapping about, oh well, we need to keep this thing viable. We want to sell these stupid Tijuana looking jerseys to make money so that for what? At what expense? The golden armor. Look at the pictures behind us. That's what they should be wearing at home. There's no pride. There's no act of anything of dominance. Nothing with this team. They're just existing. They just exist. Danny's brought up Jerry Jones. You look at Jerry Jones and how damaging a grown-ass man can be when that person's insecure. The insecurity of a grown-ass man, a man that's successful in business because of money. My definition of success differs from a lot of people. Just because you made the most money doesn't mean anything to me. How does it impact those around you? Everyone. You're a public person. You are providing a service to a very popular product. Don't you want to give them something? Look what the Guggenheims did after a World Series win. After they dropped a bill to get two guys. The second that last pitch went in and finished, they were ready to throw millions of dollars in improving the place where fans go every day during the summer. They thanked the fans, the almost 4 million fans that come. They said, you know what, guys, we're not going to relax. We gave you a World Series. Guess what? We're going to make these seats better. We're going to make these dugouts better for the players, too, so that when we bring in possibly new players, they can see how you guys live. Hell, we're going to do it. We're going to make the clubhouses for our visitors envy us, so that when they come and play the Dodgers, when they are thinking about free agents, they're, man, this place is amazing. I'm going to come. I want to be a Dodger now. That's how you run business. You do some research about the 1980 San Francisco 49ers from 1979 to 1995. I believe I read this. I just can't remember what it was. They were the most sought after company to work for. This is a football team. I'm not talking about Apple before or IBM or any of those big companies back then, Xerox. It was the freaking San Francisco 49ers. And every player would say the same thing. First class organization, first class organization, first class organization. How the hell did the organization that Dr. Buss built lose itself so much in such a small amount of time? I'll tell you why. Because Dr. Buss was the guy and his family isn't. And you can argue that it's his fault or not his fault. There's a lot of personal stuff that came in there. Maybe he felt like because he wasn't there for them at the beginning of their lives, he wanted to make it up to them. I understand that. That makes sense. He was trying to help his kids. God bless him for that. But in the end, they were not qualified to do this. And they never have been. Why do you think, Gerald? Think about this for a second. How long did Jeannie work for Dr. Buss? From the beginning. She ran all these little
70s.
things, right?
Yeah.
She's ran it. Why didn't he give her the team instead of giving it to Jim? Why?
Because you got to think about it. She was right there in the office the entire time that Dr. Buss was, but maybe it's just, again, the
because he knew.
Yeah.
He knew. He wasn't dumb. Okay, he knew. Now, you could also say, well, why the hell did he give it to Jim? You should have known that guy was a dud.
I mean, he gave
I'll tell you why.
The sports teams, the other sports teams, like the table tennis, not the table tennis.
I'll tell you why. I'll
the
tell you.
team tennis and the other teams. He gave
Those
those
things
as
don't
a
matter.
test,
Those things are jerk offs. I mean, come on.
and
Who
they
gives a
and
shit
they
about
failed
tennis?
each time.
Yeah, exactly. I think the reason why he gave it to Jim was because he was worried about Phil Jackson.
Mhm.
And that right there, folks, should tell you everything about Jeannie Buss. I am not a supporter of dating people at work, especially in high power positions. If it's employees, I'll roll with that. But in terms of position of power, that has a very, very bad result most of the time. And it went forward a little bit. He was worried about that. There's no doubt.
But she's been working, light alongside it, and he knew better than anybody that if she was able or not able to go ahead and run the
Yeah,
team.
I believe if he had felt comfortable with her running the show, he would have put her first. But
Mhm.
she does not make good decisions, and you're seeing it right now. She's not a good decision maker. She's too emotional. She can't handle it. She wants everything to be peaches and cream. This is not that kind of game. Plus, you treat a legend like Jerry West the way she did. I have no respect for her, anyways. And then, of course, we've talked about the other thing, and I'm not going to mention that right now. But the bottom line is, Lakers fans out there listening to the show for the 100th time, the first time, whatever it is, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, understand this. Until morale gets better, the beatings are coming and will continue. That's an old saying. I don't run out of energy. I'm going to bring it, and I'm going to bring it fast, and I'm going to bring it mean until this thing gets fixed, because that's the only thing I can do at this point. And whether it resonates doesn't matter. Maybe it resonates through some of the people out there. Maybe there's somebody that's a Laker fan that has a bigger channel that might hear us and start using some of the stuff we're saying to spread it out. Who knows? At some point, maybe we might get to that level, right? That's the goal. But the point is, this team as a whole is gutless, spiritless, and has no chance at being anything, because the people that are in charge and the people that are playing don't have the ability to do it. LeBron
Juice Man,
should
I
retire.
was going to wanted to let you know, Joe. Juice Man 24 is in the chat. Welcome. Truly appreciate you joining us. He was talking about, well, how do the Lakers fix this? I think the answer started with Stone Hansen 2 seasons ago, where he already saw the writing on the wall and shocked our listeners and viewers at that point in time, talking about a total rebuild at that point in time. Allow LeBron to go somewhere else, or at that time, the team could have traded him, trade AD, and just rebuild. We have seen, Joe, that with the right people in the front office, the the rebuild can be fairly quick. Look at OKC. They were a playoff team in the bubble. And 4 years later, they're already back. 4 seasons later, they're already back in the NBA playoffs. So it is, and look at all the assets and the young players that they have, and they should be around for the next decade as far as challenging or contending high up in the NBA playoffs. This is a possibility. So when you ask me, or people ask me, or ask us about what can they do to fix this, because you trade away D'Lo, that chance to get that third high level score and maybe some really nice depth on top of it, that's gone. Your hope is that those 2 first-round picks can get a couple rotation players in the mix, like I've heard Sexton and Kessler. Those are nice complementary players, but they're not going to move the needle as far as you want them to go, Joe. So with that said, I think at this point in time, if you really want to take a hard look at it, if you didn't say it was the Los Angeles Lakers and you just looked at the team the way they are now, if you don't want to stay in this purgatory of you know fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, where they are now. Like, for instance, we didn't think that Phoenix would be having the trouble that they are, or Golden State would be having the trouble that they are, but they are. They've gotten old and they've gotten slow, just like the Lakers, and have really taken a step behind. I think it's time to start really evaluating it. I'd start with the front office and getting Rob Pelinka out of there, maybe a Tim Donnelly, maybe someone else to put in there, and to really make an evaluation going forward what they want to do as far as rebuilding this roster.
No, they won't do that because Jeannie knows if she gets a new GM, he is going to force. He's not gonna. That person will unlikely work with Clutch and LeBron and his people. Now, I want you guys and Juice Man, thank you for being here. I'm gonna give you a little bit of an update on some of the things we've discussed on the show in a very short amount of time. Dr. Buss, God rest his soul, passed away in 2013, February 18th, 2013. Okay. Now, the 2011-2012 season, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna exclude that from this discussion because it was a shortened season. There was only 66 games that year. So I'm not gonna hold it against the Lakers for not getting 50 wins that year because there were, 16 less games played. They might have their pace would have probably had them win 50 games anyways. They won 41 that year. So excluding that, okay. The following year, Dr. Buss passes away. Now, from then on till now, this season is the 13th season since then. The Lakers have won 50 games once in those 13 seasons. This is not an isolated problem. This has been a chronic issue with this team. Whether it was adjusting to the back-to-back championship team, whether it was adjusting to management, which Mitch was still there. Jim took over some of the reins and his stupid ass. But in the end, you've done every type of change. You had Magic there. You've had Rob there. You've had Jim there. You didn't have Mitch there. You had Mitch there. You had Rod and Rambis and his wife or whatever the hell it is that they do. It's like it doesn't matter what they've done. Still in those 13 seasons, one 50-win game season. And her reprieve is the 2020 season. Imagine if they didn't win that year. Imagine if those guys decided to eliminate the playoffs that year. There was a lot of discussion that they were going to do that due to the social stuff that was going on. And, of course, COVID. Imagine. This is a reoccurring issue. And it's not going away. It's actually getting worse. They're buffoons. They're bums. And they have no business running a iconic franchise like this. And until they sell the team, I don't see a bright light. LeBron is going to be gone at some point here, maybe. But even if he leaves, what are they going to do? Where can they go? What's the plan? She doesn't even have a player personnel guy. She has a jackass GM. What the hell does Rob Pelinka know on how to scout players and go get players? What does he know about that? Does he go to the gyms? Does he do that stuff? He knows how to get staples. He knows how to make sure that there's enough Post-its in that building. That's his job. That's what general managers do. They got to make sure that the office and things like that are done, not go and try and find a difference maker to come win a championship. It's a horrible situation. And if we were the Orlando Magic, if we were the Charlotte Hornets, if we were the New Orleans Pelicans, I don't think we would be this invested in it. I think we would be like, this is how the standard procedure pretty much with this team. Let's hope we get the high draft pick and win it again. Right? That's it. But this is the LA Lakers, man. We're greedy. We expect excellence. And I think the vitriol from my end is I don't really like these people. They're everything that regular people despise when it comes to the elite, the people that have money and the positions that really they didn't earn. She didn't earn this position. She's a lottery daughter. If it wasn't for Dr. Buss, she would have never even seen an NBA front office, let alone run it. And from my view, in terms of Rob Pelinka, if he wasn't the ass kisser to probably Kobe all his life, he would have never gotten that chance. Come on. No, it is over. The Lakers, every time I see those stupid ass jerseys at home, it just adds more fuel to my hatred for this shitty run operation. The Lake Show at home, wearing those Tijuana looking jerseys that I wouldn't even buy if I wasn't Tijuana, even if they were $10. This is what you're selling so you can make money. And the fact that a fucking idiot got 8,000 votes today to go on an all-star game. A fucking nobody. 8,000 votes. What dumb fuck put his name on the voting thing? For what? This is the circus. This is the quality that you've created. Yeah, it's not. No, I'm not happy. Not happy at all. Not happy at all.
Once again, it is.
We're gonna write it out because the easy way to do it is to bitch out, right? I ain't bitching out. No, I want them to feel it. I want them to feel it. I haven't bought Laker gear in God knows how long. I'm not going to the games anymore. Sure, you might have my eyes on Sportsnet, but I would have had that channel anyways. I still have DirecTV. I enjoy having the convenience of regular TV instead of having to go to every motherfucking app everywhere you go, and I can't do shit when I'm on an app. So yeah. No, I'll be here. I'm here because of our chat and you and Sean and Stone. I'm here for you guys because the market says we want to listen to you. We want you here. And to me, that's a lot of respect. And I want to honor that respect despite what's going on.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you joining us. Don't forget, I'll have the game up tomorrow, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. It's the Los Angeles Lakers all set to do battle, so we'll see what we can do as far as getting a victory under our belts. Lakers have lost 3 in a row, so hopefully they will go ahead and win to stay above 500 and also stay in the race for mediocrity in the Western Conference. Are you surprised, though, with the Lakers, again, a team that does have at the top older players, the very top 2 players on their roster, also comparative to Phoenix, also comparative to Golden State, which also have star players that are aging. Your thoughts? Because Golden State and Phoenix lost tonight on the road at Atlanta, are on the outside looking in.
Well, Matt Ishbia had just taken over the team, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
He's going to need some time to figure out what he's going to do. He's got a lot of money. I don't know if there's somebody out there that would want Durant. I'm trying to think. Let's talk about that for a second. That's an interesting one. I think Phoenix has more flexibility in getting rid of guys than the Lakers at this point because of the deadheads on that run the team. So let's think of a scenario here. Is there a team out there that's a Durant player away of possibly making a run? But it can't be a top team. It's not going to be Oklahoma City or Boston or Denver. Like none of those teams. Would Houston think they could be a Durant trade away? And would they want to give up too much talent for that? Or would they be able to give up enough of these secondary players to make it make sense and not have to give up too much capital, enough to wet the beak of the Suns executives, right? They have to give up something. But does that make a difference? I think it'd be kind of a cool story, wouldn't it? I mean, I know he's from Virginia, but he did play at Texas, Durant. So he goes to Houston, and he's playing with Sengun. He's playing with, let's say, Fred VanVleet. And that's a pretty good, solid team. Thompson. I don't know. I think Phoenix has a easier. They can't trade Bradley Beal. They have to ride that out. But Durant has value.
So does Booker, but I'm going to say right now he's going to go for more than 2 firsts.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody out there who's thinking that the Lakers can stop that right now? Stop that right now. Booker's still young enough that he is more valuable than 2 firsts. Durant, you could think about 2 firsts for him if you really were enamored with Durant. I don't think that he would. Even he on the Lakers right now couldn't help solve entirely all the things that are wrong with the Lakers at this point. But having him and LeBron the same team, I don't know how that dynamic would work between those two. But Booker is going to go for like those 4 or 5 firsts if he does eventually get traded, Joe. And he might, because he is the most valuable asset on a team that has really little hope of improving themselves because they are well entrenched in the second tax apron, Joe.
And they would need some large expiring contracts with 4 or 5 firsts. I think that'd be a hell of a trade. So you trade Durant for a couple. Let's say you trade Durant for a couple of really good, solid first round picks, and then some young talent, right, to come to Phoenix. You can't get Sengun. You can't get Thompson. You can't get Fred VanVleet, but you can get maybe some of the other guys. Let's just throw that out there. Then you get, let's say, a couple of first-round picks, a couple of second-round picks for Durant. Cool. Booker then gets you, let's say, 4 first-round picks plus some expiring contracts that come. Now you can start rebuilding. You're gonna have to wait out Bradley Beal until he's an expiring contract. Let me see when his contract's done. Hold on a second here. I'm kind of curious about that now. So
as far as for Booker,
no, Bradley Beal. Okay, Bradley Beal's he's got 2 years left.
Yes, 2 years left.
He's got 2 years left. Durant has 1 more year left after this year, so that would make sense in terms of trading him because he's going to be an expiring contract. If Houston gets him now, they have another year to see if he's worth a damn. If not, they don't have to pay him, and that opens up more money down the road. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. By the way, I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm still, if I'm a team, I'm looking at Booker more than I am Durant. Booker's the one who's still, 29, 30?
But Booker's going to cost more in terms of assets. I don't know if necessarily Houston will want to do that.
But Phoenix might not have a choice. I mean, they have to if they're not going to be a high-end playoff team, Joe, they need to get rid of their assets in a hurry because they are really hurting. And Bradley Beal, it's not going to go anywhere because he's got that no trade clause.
Yeah. Bradley Beal's not going anywhere until the last year of his contract, which is in 2 years.
Unless he says so. Remember, he's got to approve
I don't think anybody wants Bradley Beal.
Oh, not right now, no.
No. And they're not going to want him next year either. They would take him in the last year he'll have. In 2 years. Yeah, they're stuck with him. But Phoenix has a 5 to probably 7 year window if they were to start doing things now. They still have a 5 to 7 year window to probably build a title team for all we know.
Actually, this is a great question. Mission 24 says, Gerald, what was your last memory of Fry's or Circuit City? It feels a lot like this Lakers regime. My last memory is actually of the horror movie No, where that was a really good movie, by the way. But my personal memory of Fry's here in Las Vegas, we had I think it was like just before the pandemic, so it was actually pretty recent, like 2019, I think it closed here in the Las Vegas area. And I remember the last 2-3 years going there, Joe, and it was this huge place that was just so empty and devoid of people, where just a few years prior, in fact, I actually worked as a PlayStation rep and one of my places that I used to go to was the Fry's in Las Vegas to sell PlayStations for a period of time. And I remember right around 2011, 2012, in fact, that's where I got my my Uncharted 3 standee over there. It was from Fry's. Packed. Biggest electronics store in all of Las Vegas. crowds everywhere in 2010, 2011, 2012. But by the end of the decade, they were nothing. They're absolutely nothing and virtually out of business as a whole.
Fry's, my memory of Fry's, and I'll say the last one that I remember too. My memory of Fry's was a big warehouse full of stuff you don't need that you wanted. Their DVD section was amazing when you wanted to go Blu-ray DVDs, when you wanted
Or
to
if
go
you're
watch
building a
movies.
PC,
Building the PC, TVs, all the electronics. The issue with that store was it was the beginning of what Home Depot and Lowe's are now, which is the people who worked there, when they saw you walking by them, they would tuck tail and run. They did not want to help you in any way.
they're
They
not
were
commissioned.
they were miserable. The workers there were miserable. They did not want to be there. So that was my impression of Fry's. Uh, my last memory was for some odd reason, I got up real early on Black Friday this one year, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to Fry's. It's 5:30 in the morning. Let me go see what's going on. So I get there, I park, and I see a line that's here the front of Fry's where the door is, like the door's in the middle, and then to the right, you see people in line. Now, where I was standing, it looked like that was the only part of the line, right? And I thought, they're probably around the corner, but you know, I don't see anything on the left. I don't see anything anywhere. So I go over there and I'm getting ready to, I'm turning the corner. All of a sudden, I just see a line all the way to the end of the building. And the building was pretty big. I was like, oh, damn, it's all the way over there. Okay, so it's probably got a few people on the other side. All of a sudden, I kept going and kept going. Turned out that there was people that were walking on the sidewalk on the main drag. I was like, screw this. I went back home and slept.
I could tell you with the Las Vegas one, if you ever went to the Las Vegas Fry's, one of the unique dynamics of it is had a huge display as you entered the building right up front top. It was of a slot machine where it would just continuously run, just a generic, what a bar or 777 or whatnot, or fruit lemon or whatever. It would just keep on giving you different things, like was it you were playing a slot machine. It was this huge massive display right above the front door, and you could tell things were getting bad when they turned that off as they got closer and closer to the end. The carpool precedent. I think Joe got arrested last time. But yeah, it is sad. It's just like what we're seeing now. But you're talking about why the Lakers are stuck in what they're doing is because they won a championship with LeBron and AD, and Rob tinkered with things and just didn't know how to get it back to where it was before. He just shows that I think that there needs to be someone in place that will help get this team or rebuild this team to where it needs to be. And I can certainly tell you, as over the years, we have been very vehement in our displeasure with Rob's performance as a GM. It is time for a new GM. It is time for a different direction. It is time for new ownership. You, Empire Jeff, have called out for selling the team to the Guggenheims now for weeks and weeks upon end. For years, we've talked about Rob not being a good GM. These things need to change, or you will continue to see this meandering in the years to come, Joe.
Yeah, and I've sat back and I've really tried to understand where I am mentally when it comes to reactions to my team's performances. And I find myself being reactive to the leadership. My issues with Mike Tomlin. A
Oh,
lot
by the
of
way, did you hear about Tomlin today, right?
yeah, he's not going anywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah. That Joe was the most. I could just when I read that.
Well, I already knew that. I already knew he's not going to go anywhere.
Basically, everyone out there, Tomlin said he does not want to be traded, and I could just feel the Joe vibe saying,
Well, he can't. He can't be traded anyways. Yeah, for some weird reason, They gave him a no trade clause. I never heard that for a coach. That is probably one of
Yeah, I
the
never heard of that.
worst things I've ever heard, by the way, by an owner to do. I haven't been too hard on the Rooneys. Rooneys have been a staple since the beginning, since 1933. Art Sr. is a great man, and his son, Dan Rooney, who ran the team, was a great man. And Art Rooney II is a great man, but I think he's lost on this branch that he won't break off. He won't break off mediocrity. I don't know why. Mike Tomlin is the most overrated coach I've ever seen in sports. That's not hyperbole. He is terrible, folks. I've watched every single game he's coached. He is terrible. He has no sense of the clock. He doesn't know when to challenge or when not to challenge. He always gets it wrong when he goes on fourth down. He gets it wrong when he doesn't go on fourth down. It's like everything that he wants to do usually goes the opposite way. And he had a lot of success at the beginning of his career because he had somebody else's guys playing. His development of players, the discipline with players is horrible. It's all there, yet I am being told by these experts that are getting paid millions of dollars on TV that this guy is great. Why do you people still use the word great? How the fuck is 3 playoff wins in 14 seasons great? Tell me. I want to know. 14 years, not 4, not 8, not 7, 14. That means someone was born and became a teenager. And this guy's only won 3 playoff games, and that's great? Whoever says that, you are stupid. And you're full of shit. Seriously. So we take that now to the Lakers. We've talked about it enough. We're going to have to keep talking about it. Jeannie Buss does not belong running a team like this. I don't know what she does. I don't want to know what she does. She can't run this thing. It's over. You need new ownership that has resources, ownership that has unlimited supply of money, loans, whatever. And for the love of God, get rid of this snake oil salesman schmuck. Get him out of our face, please. I don't want to hear about Kurt Rambis and his goddamn wife. I don't want to hear about Rob Pelinka and his relationship with Kobe anymore. Kobe, God rest his soul, is gone. It doesn't matter anymore. Get this guy out of here, or you're going to continue to get fed this garbage. And if stat padding is what you're here for, congratulations. Enjoy the games. We're not here. I'm not here. I'm about winning. I want my teams to win. I don't care about sly talking at the press conferences. I don't care about smooth. You ain't smooth and you're not sly when you suck at winning. You got to win to truly be the man, or at least win once in a while. I know it's hard to win it all every year, but how about at least compete? You can't even get out of the goddamn first round. You can't even score a goddamn point. The Steelers are 63-0 the last 5 playoff games in the first quarter. 63-0. But he's great. Is that great? You had Big Ben. You didn't have Big Ben. What is your excuse now? At what point does the excuse end? No excuses. You can shout, you can scream, you can call us names. It doesn't matter at all. 0. It affects nothing. The results are what they are. And if your definition of 3 playoff wins in 14 seasons, if your definition of 150-win season in 14 years, last 14 years or 13 years, I'll give them that. That's great. You are a schmuck. You don't know what the hell great is. No. It'll never happen. You can sit. We can have coffee, even though I don't drink coffee. You can sit there until your eyes and ears bleed trying to explain to me why this is a good idea. And I'm going to sit there and go, 150 win season, one in 13 years, 3 playoff wins, not 1 Super Bowl appearance in 14 years. And for almost half of that time, you had the best receiver in the game. For a quarter of that, you had the best running back / receiver of the game, and you had a top 5 quarterback most of that time. And you still couldn't win dick in those years. That's it. Put a button on it, baby. Put a button on it.
JuiceMan24 says, I don't get Lakers fans rooting for Bronny. He is not helping the cause. JuiceMan24, if you were only here about
They're not, hey,
9
Juice,
months ago.
Juice, they're not Laker fans. They're LeBron fans. And that in itself is a problem. That's the problem, is these Laker fans became LeBron fans, or LeBron fans that came from Miami, that came from Cleveland, whatever.
Juice Man, to be honest with you, when we talk and kid about how I don't know anything about TikTok because we got banned on TikTok, it's about the gentleman next to me, very distinctly describing his displeasure about Bronny and Bronny being drafted by the Lakers. I did a short on it. Unfortunately, you can no longer see it on unless you're a member. You can see that still as a member on YouTube. But yeah, the short got banned on TikTok because it was so expressive, for lack of a better term. But yes, this was something that I saw coming. Joe, I mean, he kind of knew that it was coming, but obviously for weeks on end said he would leave the channel if that's the case. He did leave the channel for a while. He had to be talked back into coming back. It was such a really heartfelt issue with all of us about how the drafting of Bronny was just really a detriment to the team. The one thing I will say, though, Joe, is I expected it to be more of a circus continuously throughout the season. It kind of just stopped dead in the water around late November-ish, whatnot. It kind of just became a non-issue. But still, the fact that you have one less spot on the roster for a player that could help or could have helped this team now is a problem, because you have so many dead roster spots on the roster right now, and that's all attributed, even with Maxwell Lewis gone. And I'm really sorry for the kid that he got hurt in Brooklyn in his first outing there. I wish him well, but yeah, he was doing nothing for the team. It goes and gets all attributed to what we're seeing from Rob Pelinka.
Yeah, I didn't want to come back to the show because I couldn't. I was planning on not watching the games. You can't do a show unless you watch the games.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to succumb to their BS. That I've never.
Yeah, it's still that there in the background.
I've never said that in my life, man. There was a 10-year window where I didn't miss one Laker game. Yeah, it's. I just don't like. I don't like anyone on this team, and I really, really don't like Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka. I don't like them as people. They're sleazy to me. I see people like that so much in my line of work. People that have this kind of shield around them because of who they know and who they've been around, and because they're public figures or in their community, they're popular or whatever. And then you start to see, because when you're in people's homes and when you're in and around the regularness of things, you see who people really are, not when they're stepping out of their house or when they have to entertain. You see who they are, and they're pieces of shit. They're fake. Mm-hmm. I hate fake people. I hate fake ass people. Especially when they're rich and they have a public or popular setup. Because there's so many idiots out there that succumb to that celebrity or the money or whatever. And that's just what it is. I wish people had more pride and more confidence in themselves, not to be lured in by that.
Sharon and Carl says, "Welcome to LA, Joe." And Sharon says, "You hate fake people living in LA."
I don't live in LA.
I mean, I worked in the movie industry a little bit before I came out to Las Vegas, and all I can say is there are some real people working in aspects of the movie industry, but there are some, you know,
I don't live in LA.
very less transparent people in that area, in that vocation. There is some of what you guys talk about, and what some people are led to believe in regards to that. Not everyone, of course, but there is some phoniness to it. I got to see it on a regular basis. But Joe, uh, it's not just in the movie industry or whatnot. It is a certain lifestyle. And living there for 25 years, as I did growing up in Southern California, there is a tendency to go ahead and believe, and it is true to an extent, that there is some type of layer of with a certain demographic there. There's a certain type of phoniness. I can understand. I could agree with that to an extent. But there are real people living in Southern California. There are good people, a lot of good people living in SoCal. And I'm definitely proud when somebody tells me or somebody recognizes me as someone from being and originating from Southern California, because I'm proud of where I come from in SoCal.
I'll leave it at that, Gerald, because this could talking about
I
LA
know
takes us to another part of
it's
this
very
show.
divisive, and I get that. I'm not going to even start. I
It's
mean,
it's
again,
it's it wasn't like this. Dr. Buss wasn't a fake guy. Jerry Buss wasn't a fake guy. Bill Sharman wasn't a fake guy. Mitch Kupchak wasn't a fake guy. Kobe wasn't fake. Shaq was a jackass a lot, but he wasn't fake either. Magic wasn't fake, although he kind of tends to want to appease everybody, but that's admirable. That's who he is. I wouldn't say that's fake. Kareem definitely wasn't fake. I had problems with Kareem
no.
for a very long time until
And
recently.
he will tell you like it is if he doesn't like
Yeah,
something.
and the only thing that bothered me about Kareem for the longest time is his it's like I kind of felt sometimes that he felt excluded to almost kind of adolescent in an adolescent way. When a kid doesn't get his candy, he kind of had that aura around him. The statue, the fact that they didn't have a statue for him yet at Staples, and that bothered him. I'm like, dude, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, why are you like, why does that even matter? But anyways, I've kind of softened up on Kareem a little bit. Uh, I think a lot of it is the fact that he is different, and maybe there was a while there where I didn't get it, but as I have kind of heard a little bit more from him the last decade, it's become a little easier for me to tolerate him. James Worthy, we love. Coop, we love. Darren Scott, he had that stint as a coach. People were angry at him. But I was like, dude, you can't get angry at Byron. This team sucks. Even though I didn't think he was really a good coach, anyways, but he was put in an even worse position. Rambis, sure, he was fun, and it's just I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've sat back and I'm really trying to understand. Is it really the times? And I go, no, it isn't. I'm very adaptable. I understand change has to happen, but it has to come at the expense of quality. So let's use baseball again as an example. I don't particularly like how baseball is played right now, but it's the cat's out of the bag. It's over. They can't go back and have pitchers pitch 92 miles an hour anymore. It's over. Right? Those days are
Yeah.
over. You have to pitch 98 now with velocity, with
Let me ask you this
rates.
though: what about a knuckleballer or a submariner?
They wouldn't
God, I miss
last.
those guys.
Yeah, they wouldn't
I
last.
can't.
Right?
I miss those. I miss those
Yes,
guys, Joe. The guys throwing the knuckleball. You see the action on it, and
right.
then or like was it Kentacolvey who would just like go from underneath? That was just it was different, but it made baseball more appealing to me.
Yes. However, if it's at the expense of quality, which my team has shown this, you have to accept it. And Aaron, you brought up a good point. You grew up on boxing. I love boxing growing up. My God, if you're
Oh man,
talking about
Tyson
a
every 7 to 10 days.
sport that has been destroyed by the times, it's really no one's fault. It's. I heard a line years ago, and it made so much sense. The guys that were boxing, the heavyweights especially, those guys are playing tight end in the NFL now. I said, you know what? That makes sense. The Riddick Bows, the Lennox Lewises, the guys that were big, the Larry Holmes, those guys are all playing tight end in the NFL.
Joe, I want to say this. One of the things I feel blessed of course, watching the Lakers throughout the 80s, I feel very blessed. I was able to watch them in that period of time, but also during the 80s was the rise of cable television. And one of the things I was also blessed to see is a young Mike Tyson from virtually the very beginning of his fights be on USA or other cable outlets on a 7 to 10 day period, watching him beat up tomato can after tomato can, as they call him, as far as him knocking out opponent after. You could see, yes, the guys that he were against were tomato cans, bums, whatever you want to say. But you could just see the power, the raw power, and the rage coming from this man, and to see it as it was, just starting to just grow. That was a beautiful thing, Joe. That was a talk. That was the talk amongst the sports worlds, just to see him get to that level and to where he got. But yeah, just absolutely. I feel privileged in a way to have seen him.
And then now you have these fake
Him.
fights
Yeah.
because what is
I think it did. He make more in that one fight in
I don't know what
last
he
year
made.
than he did his entire career. He
I
might
don't know
have.
what he made. I really don't know what he made, but it was a disgrace. It
I think
was
it
an
was 20 something
embarrassment.
million.
It was an
20 something
embarrassment.
million.
I
Yeah.
can't believe I watched 3 rounds of it. I turned it off after 3 rounds. I was disgusted that I even turned it on. It we have we have become a nation, a world of information at the tip of our fingers, right?
Mhm.
Yet we have become more fake than ever before. You go on these Instagrams. Actually, I'm not even going on it. I go to Instagram to try to work, to post pictures for my business, and because that's what everybody tells me to do. Yet all I see is these fake filtered assholes on there showing stuff. They look nothing like what they filter. And then you watch these fights, these fixed fights, and everybody's asked, "Oh man, I can't believe you threw that right." And I'm like, dude, can't you guys see this is fixed? You sit there and you yap about how Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and all these football games are fixed, yet you can't see when it's fixed? You actually think that was real? Like, wake the hell up, man. People want to believe what they want to believe. That's the most frustrating part. Like, pick one already, man. Can't have both. Just fake everywhere. Everything is fake, and it's disgusting to me. I can't stand it. I don't have any filters on. This is what I look like.
Before we head on out, I wanted to go ahead and answer Sharon B's question because I thought that was very detailed and allows us to go ahead with a nice topic for the last few minutes of the show. She said, "What's the most important part of a successful sports team?" I thought that was a very good question. One, I think that'd be great for us to touch on. Owners, coaches, players, or what combination, Joe?
Number one is players. It's hard to pick one, but you have to have the no matter how nice the gun is, you got to have ammo. The ammo is the players. Uh, the coaches are the gun, and then the owners are the suppliers of that gun. If I had to use an analogy, So when you look at the chain of command, when you build an image, you build. Let's use the Lakers as an example. So Dr. Buss buys the Lakers in 1979 from Jack Kent Cooke for what was it, $60 million?
In that range, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus some other, I think, wasn't there some other extending?
Well, a lot of it
other
was
stuff? Yeah.
real estate
Real
and all that.
estate,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sears building was involved, all that crap. He even borrowed $1 million from Sterling
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah.
God
Yep.
help him. Anyways, so there was discussion, and I'm trying not to. The TV series had some truth there, but the real truth that I know for sure is the Lakers were sort of contemplating the Sidney Moncrief pick. I know that that's a fact.
Yes.
But Jerry West disputed the fact that he said he wanted him. I thought that he came out and actually said, I never said that. That was some lie that somebody put together. So there was discussion of Magic or Sidney Moncrief at that time going first overall. Dr. Buss apparently made the call that he wanted Magic Johnson because he had this idea of, look at this guy. Look how he performed in the NCAA championship. Look at that smile. He already had a marketing mind working. So imagine that, Sharon. The owner recognized the player he needed to do what he wanted to do. Now, where they kind of had an issue was the coach. Not because it was their fault. Jack McKinney ended up eating asphalt from a bike accident because they were playing pretty well with him as a coach. And then they had to kind of scramble for the next couple of years to find Pat Riley, and then Showtime really started. So player, owner, coach. Because usually if you've got the player and you've got the smart ownership, you're going to get a good coach. Because then you forward to almost 20 years later, what happened, Gerald? They tried Del Harris. They had a small little stint with Kurt Rambis. They're like, yeah, this ain't going to work. Go get Phil Jackson. And then what happened? 3-peat.
True. JuiceMan24 says, who's the last player the Lakers developed? I mean, despite his ups and downs with you guys, well, I'm going to say Austin Reaves.
Develop. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, the guy was an undrafted player. Did you think when the Lakers picked this guy up for the summer league team,
develop?
Well, again, do you think he would develop into a player that would actually, in an NBA game, get you 20 points and 10 assists a game?
I think develop is an interesting word to use with the Lakers right now. Are they really developing anyone?
I think they do need to get credit for Austin. I think they do need to get credit for Austin. Not much beyond that, because we've seen what happens when you're not patient with that development. Scottie Pippen Jr., Jay Huff, Mo Wagner. There's quite a list of players. Alex Caruso. We've seen what happens when the Lakers just let these Ivica Zubac, which still hurts me to this day, to the core, who's averaging. He should even be considered for a spot on the All-Star team, Joe, as a backup center. Nobody's talking about him because he's averaging a double-double right now. But those are the guys that the Lakers had a chance to develop and decided not to even deal with it and move on from them. So, yes, has it been their development program been a failure for the most part? Yes. Again, Austin, is one of their few successes of this decade that a player that they've retained, that they brought on, that has had the opportunity to grow into a competent player on most days. Although obviously we see you guys' answer on that, but yeah, there's very few, Joe, that they've actually had the patience to fully develop.
Yeah, I don't think the develop is the right word. There was a moment there where they were providing really good talent in low places, the second round, late in the first, free. I mean, Austin Reaves and Alex Caruso, free agents that they turned into really good players. One on the defensive first team, one that just got an $80 million extension. Second round picks, Jordan Clarkson, a perennial six-man of the year, Zubac, who's going to probably be in the All-Star game. Heck, even their low-level first-round picks that really aren't that, big, really, like guys like Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle, those guys played in an all-star game. Although I think those just kind of were there, and I don't necessarily think that there was a lot of scouting on that. Those guys kind of just rated high at that point. But finding those gems late, finding those gems in free agency, there was a time where that talent was there, but something happened. Something changed a few years back. What happened? Why would they eliminate the people that were doing that job well? Were they worried about their jobs? Were they worried about being undermined? Who knows with these egotistical assholes? Look at Jerry Jones. He's the same way. You can't have anybody bigger than Jerry in Dallas. Can't. He won't let it happen. He's going to die being enabling himself and no one else. Stubborn to all hell. And his excuse is, well, I'm good in business. Yeah, you're good in business. You're good at making the Cowboys worth more than any franchise on the planet, but you suck at handling football. And you've always sucked at it. At what point does that ego destroy everything around you in terms of quality? Quality where it matters. No one gives a shit that you have $8 billion. Cowboy fans don't give a shit if the team was worth $20 billion. What difference does it make? Why do fans get all weird when they're like, oh, why are they spending all this money? Dude, it's not your money. What the hell do you give a shit about? Let's see here. What I got a Alan, will we still too early to judge Bronny, Joe? Oh, Alan, are you still gonna bring this shit up? Huh? Have we not had enough, Alan? Huh? Seriously? Are you just doing that just to piss me off? We talked about this shit all summer, and look what's going on, and you still are asking that question? I'm not trying to be right. I'm not trying to be right. I'm just telling you what is. I don't want to be right. I want to be wrong. I wanted this team to be 40-10 after 50 games, but they're not. They're not going to be that because they have idiots on this team from top to bottom.
He's a 6'1" shooting guard who can't shoot from three. How do you think that's going to go over
who's got Swiss cheese for a knee in a game where guys with good knees can't make it? Jay, that's not true. The Steelers had a franchise quarterback till 2018. He won in 2008 when that team was fresh. They got close in 2010, and that was it. A lot of those guys started dropping off the next few years. He got the best receiver in the game, had a hell of a running back / receiver in Le'Veon Bell, and Big Ben was dropping 5 TD games, back-to-back games. He was killing it. Still didn't matter. Still couldn't win. Lost to freaking Tim Tebow and Blake Bortles and Baker Mayfield before he even knew what the hell was going on. Tomlin is one of the worst coaches in the NFL. And if you want to sit and talk to me about it, call me. And that goes for any media guy out there. That goes for any coach, any player in the world. I don't give a shit what they think about me. In the end, I got the stats and the results. 3 playoff wins in 14 seasons. And he's had all types of stuff. The franchise quarterback, the best running back, the best receiver. Russell Wilson, whatever. Doesn't matter. Still the same result at the end. So the common denominator is what? What is it? Who are you going to blame? Who's been there the entire time when all that stuff's going on?
I'm just going to say this about Bronny. Again, I'll point out his stats, Joe.
Bronny.
7
This is what I
games
think
played.
about Bronny. See this? You remember this, right, G?
Yes, I remember that. Again, guys, right now it just looks bad. He did have that 30-point game, which everybody oohs and ahs over, but let's keep that in perspective because his overall points per game, 13 points a game, 21% from 3, and 36% overall shooting. I mean, it's absolutely. If this guy was named anything other than Bronny James Jr., we wouldn't even have this discussion.
Privilege.
We would say, why would we have given this guy a 3+1 year contract?
Privilege, G.
I know that. I understand
Privilege.
that.
This is the most
Joe,
privileged thing I've ever seen in sports, by the way.
I
have
told you
never
this
seen
was
this.
coming in the first place.
I have never seen
this.
this. That's right. I have never seen this in my life. This is the most privileged. A professional athlete in the highest league on the planet forced someone to draft their son to play when their son can't play. How is this possible? How am I supposed to take you seriously? How? As the Lakers did this? If this was I don't know who, the Brooklyn Nets, even like Brooklyn Nets when they were in New Jersey, there's at least something there. They had Dr. J when they were in the NBA. Like seriously? It's an embarrassment. We're still talking about this chump in January. This guy can't play for shit. He could play in college. I don't even know how he played in high school. At least Giannis's brother is like 6'8". If Bronny was 6'8", I'd be like, all right, let's see what he got. The kid's like 6 feet. No speed, no lateral movement, could barely dribble, can't shoot. Oh, I'm sorry. He had a couple of trailing blocks in a couple of games. Big whoop. Come on, people. I can block a shot too, running down when no one sees that I'm coming. I mean, am I wrong? I could probably do that.
I think he does have some athleticism, Joe, but yeah, at 6 feet and the fact he can't shoot, it's just right now such a detraction from the league. I mean, you guys talked about Kyle Kuzma in the chat, bringing back Kyle Kuzma. He can't shoot. He never gained that shot. And, him shooting 30% from 3 is going to irritate all of you because he chucks up a lot of shots. That's what he does at this point at Washington, and you're not going to get him to change. He's made his money in the league. More power to him. I was very fond of him as a Laker, but bring him back to the Lakers is definitely not the answer to our problems.
How do you pronounce Giannis's brother's name? Thanasis?
Thanasis, yes.
Was Thanasis drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, or did they pick him up in free agency? I think they picked him up in free agency.
Ali, with all due respect, he's a draw on his name and his name only, not on his talent. If you're going to want to see him over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, because remember the Lakers have an option for the 4th year, which they will most likely pick up, then you're going to see him. The problem is if he continues to shoot and play like he is right now, if that's the sample size you've got so far, and he's going to continue at that level, at some point in time, someone's going to try to insert him into the rotation, and that is going to be very, very divisive amongst our audience and it won't be divisive amongst our panelists because I think for the most part, outside of maybe 1 or 2, we'll all be hating that idea. hating that idea of having him be a part of the rotation. But that
There's
day
no
might
way
come.
he's not going to make it, guys.
Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah, Alan. Yeah, now I remember he did get drafted by the Knicks. Thanasis has at least the frame and the height of someone who could play. I don't. This is you're comparing apples to oranges. Bronny has no business. Bronny barely had business playing at USC. He could have become maybe a player, maybe, but work at your game then. If you really care about playing in the NBA, stay at USC, hone in on your skills, see if you can become something useful. No, he wanted to get in and be have his privilege. He had his privilege. He had his ass kissed. Still getting his ass kissed, except by us. You didn't earn shit, kid. You didn't earn shit. You were given this.
Yeah.
So I hope you hear every one of it. If you think it's hating, that's on you. It ain't hating. You got on this team because Jeannie Buss is a fucking moron and Rob Pelinka's a bitch. There is no other way you would have gotten on this team without those two idiots. Sorry. There's no other way to look at it. I know if I was the owner, I'd look at LeBron and say, dude, I'm not bringing your son here. We need to get talent. We have 2 shots and maybe one other shot if I can get my GM to get us under the cap to go get a real player with the MLE, which we didn't get shit. Yet they're worried about going and picking this guy in the second round. You only have 2 shots at improving this team within your control and not having to break the bank because you couldn't figure out how aprons work. Seriously, come on. Really? Oh, well, we wanted to get this guy paid. We want to get him paid. His dad's a billionaire. What the fuck do you need to pay him for?
Just want to update you on Thanasis. He blew out his Achilles tendon last May. So he is currently not in the league. I don't know if he'll ever return to the league, but he is currently out of the league because he blew an Achilles tendon.
If you wanted to pick him up as a free agent, and this is the arrogance of these assholes, there was talk about that. Hey, no one's going to draft Bronny. Pick him up as a free agent and pick somebody at 57 that might become something. Wasn't Manu Ginobili 58? Or are these guys even scouting anybody? Or are they too busy putting their fingers up their butt during the offseason, during the season? What do they do? What the fuck do these people do? What does Jeannie and Drop do besides make sure that the bills are paid? Who's their scouts? They fired everybody, didn't they?
Well, that's why I'm keeping an eye on Ariel Hukporti, who was drafted after Bronny. If he blows up or if one of the undrafted individuals from this draft blows up, I'm keeping an eye on that because I'll make sure I save it, Joe. And if that happens, I'll let you know ahead of time so we can go ahead and have you blow up on the show for it, because that would be a missed opportunity for the Lakers that they could have had. But nobody yet has stood out as far as undrafted or drafted after Bronny. So, but yeah, if they do, believe me, we're going to let you guys know that our displeasure on that. That's for sure.
So let's talk about
giving him. Well, the only thing I want to say, let's put one thing on it, a button on it, as you would say, giving him a 3-year contract with a 4th. There's no one 10. The only person who got a contract in the second round, the person that got the contract like that was picked 10 spots before Bronny. Everybody else were brought in on a 2-way or given a minimal contract after that. He is the only one in that region of draft picks, Joe, that got that kind of contract. And I'll leave it at that.
And I'm only repeating this because we have a new crowd here, and I want them to hear what we've discussed. The current MVP race, to put this all in perspective for everyone who keep talking about, well, what happened here and what happened there. Folks, the guy who could win his 4th MVP in Jokic. Nikola Jokic, was a second-round pick. And not at 31, not at 32, not at 33, but all the way to 41. He wasn't even picked in the first 10 picks of the second round.
Isaiah Thomas, who was an MVP candidate before he had his hip issues, he was number 60.
Ginobili, 57. Possibly the best six man of all time. He was more of a +5 plus. I always call him the 5 plus. He was never really, he was the sixth starter. So you can choose to insult intelligence. You can. You'll be wrong. They could have picked him up as a free agent and still got someone that might have helped this team. Even if the guy didn't help the team, you at least could maybe get lucky. And you know why, Gerald? They've been pretty good at picking in the second round. I've named them already. Zubac, one of your favorite players. Look how well he's playing. Jordan Clarkson. Hell, THT had a nice little run there. He phased out, but he had a nice little run. They got Austin Reaves as a free agent. They got Alex Caruso as a free agent. They got Kuzma practically in the second round, late in the first. They got Larry Nance Jr. really late in the first round. Like, you can't come with us. Even recent history has shown that they've been.
Hart. I'm sorry, Hart
Josh
was drafted even. Yeah.
Yes, he was drafted 30th. No, guys, I'm sorry. This was a bad charade. You've been played. You've allowed yourself to be played because a lot of you are mesmerized by the star. You're mesmerized by the star. Some of us aren't. This is about winning, and it's about the Lakers, folks. It's not about a single player. I don't care who you are, if you're not producing wins, you are useless. Time to move on. That's my button on the night on that.
And once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is, of course, Joe Sorrell, along with me, Joe Glassford. Want to thank you so much again for watching this and truly appreciate it. Again, the Lakers are coming up on Wednesday playing the Miami Heat. Hopefully you will join us. Lakers Fast Break on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. I will try my best to set up for a simulcast. I'm going to be on the road for a good portion of the game, so I will do my best to try and apply VIPs and whatnot. But please be patient with me as far as doing that. But I will do my very best. But I will be back in time. I should be back in time for the post game, which is the best post game that's out there, of course, right here at the Lakers Fast Break. But Xbox, if you haven't checked out his latest article, his first with us, go ahead and please do so. If you're a member, go ahead and check it out. It's very good, very detailed, and it gives you a unique look at the basketball world from our folks down under, our friends down in Australia. Truly appreciate Mark taking the time to go ahead and write it, and he said it's going to be the first of many articles that will be seen first if you're a member of the Lakers Fast Break. Again, truly appreciate it. A big shout out to Nick and, of course, M24, Mission 24, and Nick T giving us those kind super chats. Sharon, great questions out there from all of you. Alan, Ali, great. Cannot thank you enough. You guys stayed with us till midnight. But Joe, in fact, we start off with Tough saying we're the best show out there. I was like, man, that's a lot of pressure on us each and every time once I hit the go on air sign. But as Aeronautics says, the most electrifying Lakers show in all of entertainment, as the Brahma Bull would say. Any last thoughts, Joe, before we head on out?
I want to really thank some of the newbies here tonight, and of course the regulars. You guys were absolutely fantastic tonight. Also, feel free to be. Well, actually, I don't have to tell Sharon B. Sharon B. has come at us aggressively too.
But she
Uh,
comes in a respectful fashion, and I
correct.
sincerely
You
appreciate it.
look. You look. The only look. There's two ways. There's only two things that'll get your ass out of here. One, racial slurs. You're a scumbag piece of garbage if you come with that. The other is if you just come on here and go, Kobe sucks.
Or you go after our fellow chat.
Well, that I let the crowd decide on what they do with that. That's their decision.
Mhm,
We don't
mhm.
want racial garbage here. The die on a spit, and then the other is stupid nonsense that doesn't relate to anything normal. And tonight was a fabulous night by all you with questions and comments and
Yes.
everything. And again, you guys feel like we're saying stuff you don't really like. You got to come with it. Bring it.
But and as long as you bring it respectfully, we're
And
here
you
for
do,
you.
and they do, and they
Yeah.
do, and most of them do. Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
most of them. Although, as soon as we go off the air, as you and I answer questions off the air,
Well,
sometimes
my level
they.
is my tolerance for that thing is maybe a little different than Gerald's and maybe the other guys. That's just kind of how it goes, I guess.
But once again, we do want to thank you for being part of what we do here at the Lakers Fast Break. Again, will be well, it's now today. Later on, later today, I'll have that lined up. It'll be on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. Of course, the best post game that's out there, covering the Lakers and the Miami Heat. Hopefully, the Lakers will finally get back in the win column, and we'll look forward to that later tonight, right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast.